chat to you about mental health, anxiety, and kind of mental strength and relating it to sport, but also life. So I guess for the listeners at home, what has been your experience with anxiety?
So the short story is I had it pretty much my whole life, and I didn't know it, especially as a young child, especially in sports, which is why it's pretty funny I'm doing this now. I would panic going into sports, and I'd just worry, just leading up to sports, and it would affect the way I played, sports and in life too. So socially, even though I had friends, I did everything. It seemed like I was a normal kid, which I was, but it definitely affected me deep down that probably no one knew about. So it was a lifelong thing that I went through. And obviously in my 20s, it got to a point where it affected relationships and other stuff. And I started searching for ways to heal it. And I basically have spent 4 years on a journey of finding what works, what doesn't work. And now I help people find ways to heal theirs.
Awesome. And when was kind of the first time you started realizing? Because I know now when I chat to you or talk to other people or, listen to podcasts, there's quite a few things now where I look back at my life when I was 12 and I was like, actually, I would have experienced something like that, but I wasn't aware of it. So was there a time, I know you said the last 4 years, but when was a time when you kind of started realizing like, oh, there was something I needed to work on?
There's a few times in my life I thought, okay, there's something wrong here. It was only in my 20s that I decided to actually do something about it, where I actually went and sought mentors and all that kind of stuff. But probably very early on, what comes to mind? The first one, probably me having an anxiety attack basically at 14 was like the moment I thought, okay, something's not right here. Like, I remember having an anxiety attack. And there's other times maybe before that where I was like, I wasn't aware that I had anxiety, or wasn't aware, because anxiety wasn't really a word then I knew of. It was just, I worried a lot. It was just, and a lot of people do that. They just worry a lot, and they think it's normal, which it kind of is, but you don't have to worry that much. So, but yeah, probably when I was 14, when I had a bit of an anxiety attack, that was like the first moment. I was like, all right, something wasn't right there. That's very off.
Yeah. And I guess just quickly, I mean, you don't have to go into too much detail. I know everyone's different, but for anyone that doesn't know what an anxiety attack is, could you just briefly describe how it kind of feels?
So basically, at the time, I didn't know it was an anxiety attack. I didn't really know it was anxiety. I just knew something was wrong. But basically, what it is, it's hyperventilation. It's like you can't get enough air, and you start panicking. It's like a panic. Everyone's had some sort of panic. You might think your wallet isn't in your pocket, and you have a little panic for a second. Well, imagine that panic for about 5 minutes, and just getting more hyperventilating, and you can't control it. So basically, it's a panic that lasts a lot longer, and it's uncontrollable, and it's like a snowball. And a lot of people, when I talk to doctors and people at hospitals, almost I think the stats are almost half the people that go to emergency rooms are having anxiety attacks. Nothing's actually wrong with them. That's how common it is, and a lot of people don't even know they have them. So people they think there's something wrong with them. They have anxiety attacks. So basically, it's hyperventilation.
Yeah. And do you think there's any reasons why it's becoming more common? Because as you said, it is becoming quite a big thing, and a lot of people, especially teenagers, are struggling with it. Do you think there's any reasons why it's kind of been spiking up year by year?
There's probably plenty of reasons. I think in today's world, there's more pressure than ever to be a certain type of person. You got to be successful. There's a lot of pressures these days that I've found in kids, and even in high school students and in adults. So I feel like life's not as simple, maybe, in ways. There's technology, there's screen time. We know for a fact screen time is not amazing for your nervous system, which means your nervous system basically means that's where you That's how you calm down. So if you're looking at your screen for a few hours a day, that is going to do something to your nervous system. So there's a lot of factors where we live in a fast world. It's not slow anymore. It's not slow paced. We're bombarded with marketing and advertising, the pressures of life as a kid and a teenager and a kid, adult. So there's a lot of reasons, I think, but they're probably the main ones.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I think social media is a very tricky one because, as you said, there's a lot of pressure. People are comparing themselves to other people, and people are portraying this image online, and it seems like their life's perfect, but it probably isn't. But that's what you kind of see.
Yeah.
So obviously you went through your journey as a teenager, and then you got into your 20s, and you kind of started to realize, okay, I need to fix this. How did you do that, I guess? What methods did you use?
I went on a journey. So I went I went to a psychologist when I was about 25 because there was a relationship breakup, and I thought, okay, there was nothing wrong with the relationship. I just had a bit of anxiety, and previous relationships, I always blamed the other person or whatever. But this time I realized that it was actually me. I was the common denominator, and I was like, all right, I'm going to put this on me. This is definitely me. So I went on a bit of a journey, went to some psychologists. That personally didn't help me long-term with anxiety. It helped me in other ways. But so I went and found mentors in different places around the world. So a little bit, what would you call them? They're not so mainstream. So I learned a lot of different things. So breath work and mindset techniques and all these things, and I combined them, and I basically found what worked for me and what didn't work for me. And then I found later that a lot of the things that didn't work for me didn't work for other people too. And I was like, well, this needs to be taught, the things that are amazing for anxiety, but maybe not so amazing for anxiety. So I went on a bit of a journey. I still am. I still learn. I learn pretty much every day. I'm a non-stop learner. I love learning about it.
Well, that's the thing. It's not something you can just kind of fix and then go, right, that's done. It's something everyone is continuously working on daily, and it's something you have to manage rather than, fix, I guess.
It's a lifestyle change. It's a lifestyle change. You got to add it into your lifestyle. I was talking to someone yesterday about it, and we said that exact same thing. I said it because I had a client yesterday who's starting to struggle, and I said, you can't do this just when you're feeling not good. This is just like exercise. Some days you feel good, some days you don't feel good, but you do it because it's a lifestyle. It helps you long term. You stay in shape. You don't just go to the gym once and think you're fixed. You keep going. You maintain. You keep working at it. It's just the way mental health is.
Yeah.
For everyone, whether you're doing amazing or not so amazing.
Yeah, that could be the tricky thing, because I know, like, with my injuries, when I get injured, I do all my rehab and my exercises, and then 3 months later, I'm like, oh, my back's feeling good now, so I'll just stop.
That's right.
Like, well, no, it's only good because you've been doing exercises. So you have to stay on top of it. And sometimes, like I find with kids, is it can actually, you can notice the effect from the outsider, but for them, that they might really not notice, it's changing much. But when something bad happens, then you're like, oh, that's why. So I guess linking back, so now you kind of were able to turn it into a job because you wanted to start helping others from your own journey. I guess, how did that all start? Did you have a business plan? Like, what was kind of the starting point?
Yeah, basically, I've fallen into the role of just helping people. I'm a natural helper. I love teaching. I love learning. So I actually fell into a personal trainer role in 2013. So I did a personal training course, and because I was overweight as a kid, I always played sports, but I was overweight. I just loved food. I still do, but so I had weight issues. But then it come to a point I started doing boxing and doing heaps more sports when I was like 15. I lost a lot of weight, got fairly confident, and I was like, whoa, like this really helped my mindset. Like, this really helped what I was going through. So when I was 22, almost 23, I did a PT course. And then I just become a PT, and I started helping people. and then obviously so it was PT for a few years, and then I opened a gym in Adelaide, and ran my own gym. And then I added, which at the time I don't think anyone did it in definitely South Australia, which was I added mindset mixed with my personal training, which not people are starting to do it now, but back then it was about 4 years ago, not many people were doing it. And I started adding it was a mindset gym with PT, because at that time I opened the gym. It was about 4 years ago. I started really diving deep into mindset and doing a lot of courses and learning a lot of tools and mindset and how it affects my anxiety, or not just anxiety, it's mental health in general, and how it affects the way I feel. And then I added things. And then so about 4 years ago, I was running the gym, but also taking on clients and helping other people. And then I kind of transitioned about when COVID hit. So in March 2020, I sold the gym, went full time, because I knew this is the only thing I want to do. I knew I love helping, I love exercise and all that, but for me, deep down, this is what I've been born to do, which is help people with their mindsets.
That's awesome. That's an awesome idea. You're pretty forward thinking, doing that already, because even now there's not much of that around, and I find there's a real lack of mindset and mental health resources around. So I guess for you, how did you what would be your advice for parents and maybe players and just people in general about how they actually find out that they need to improve it? Because I guess if you're overweight, you go to a gym, but with mindset, it's not something you just know the answer to.
Yeah, that's right. It's easier if you're overweight. You just go, all right, it's physical. It's all right. It's very easy to see there might be some sort of problem there that we need to work on, or something that might be affecting your health or your confidence. It's easy. There's overweight. With mindset, there's a lot of things, but I suggest that, and I think we're starting to go this way anyways. A few years ago, it was a little bit more, it's starting, especially since Corona, people are really starting to realize that mindset is affecting way more people than people realize. So the signs really are, and a lot of my clients with anxiety used to tell me that it come out of nowhere and they started getting anxiety, but when we dig deeper, they've always been anxious. So if you're a constant worrier and you worry, whether that's for your kids or you are a kid and you worry, that's a sign that there's a lot of internal anxiety going on. And stress, if you stress, like normal stress is normal. Like it's okay to stress. It's part of human nature. But some people, like when I was growing up, and even now, I'm still a bit of a stress head at times. I overstress, just overthink everything and overstress things. That's a sign like there's something going on. Maybe sometimes you can't feel your feelings and you're sad or you're numb. That's a sign that there's something going on. If there's so many signs. Maybe socially, you avoid people, you avoid social situations, or you avoid conflicts, or you avoid being rejected, or whatever. There's millions of different ways to see if something's going on. But I think if you really ask yourself deep down, I think people know if something doesn't feel right. It's just, you got to be honest with yourself, because a lot of people have learned not to be honest with ourselves, because growing up in a culture where you got to be tough and strong, and emotions are silly. We just got to be honest with yourself and say, am I feeling okay? Am I feeling actually okay? The answer normally comes. If you're okay, you're okay. If not, there's probably something there you need to work on. And there's no shame in that. Most people do. Let's face it. Most people need to work on things. No matter, and there's different scales. Some people have little things going on. Some people have massive things going on. Some people have things in between. But just like physical fitness, I think it can serve everyone, even if you're fit, to keep training.
Yeah, it's having that self-awareness, isn't it, of yourself and who you are. If you've got that self-awareness, then you're more likely to know if something's a bit off.
Yeah.
And I know another coach kind of talked to me about a mindset thing, and they were saying it's very easy to call other people, like bad, like they got a bad forehand, or they're not very fast. So he was saying, well, why do you say it to yourself then? If that's like a mean comment, why would you say you're bad and you're crap? Because you've got to kind of treat your own body and your own self like you'd want to treat others.
That's right.
So if I'm saying, if I'm saying I'm crap and bad at, bad at tennis, or I'm a bad person, it's like, well, why, I shouldn't be saying things about myself.
Yeah.
in that way.
That's another perfect sign, actually. If you're hypercritical of yourself, which happens in sport a lot, hypercritical of yourself is a sign there might be something going on where you don't love yourself, and when you don't love yourself, you're gonna suffer, because you live inside yourself 24/7, and if you don't love that self, well, you're not going to have a great time. Even if you've got a great job, you've got you're amazing at sport. Even if you're amazing at sport, but you're hypercritical, you're not going to enjoy it. And most likely, a lot of those players end up giving up because it's too hard to be that critical of yourself, or with anything in life. If you're that critical of yourself, you're gonna really suffer.
Yeah. So if someone is dealing with that, or maybe anxiety attacks or something similar, what should they be doing to get help?
It's a lot of options. Number one, just trying. So what you want to do is, and it's probably different for adults and kids, because kids probably, let's say you're an adult and you've got it. Well, try to find what works for you. Maybe a psychologist will help. For me, it didn't work amazing for anxiety. For you, it might. Trying out different meditations and breath work might work for you, might not. So what you want to do is find out what helps you feel better. What is it that makes you feel better? I've got my ways. I'm maybe a bit biased in my ways because it's worked for me and it's worked for other people. But for some people, it might not. So just go on a bit of a journey to find out what worked for you. Number one, most people, I don't know in New Zealand, but you can go to your doctor and just ask for, you get like 10 free sessions here in Australia. Just go have a chat to a psychologist or whatever, just to get the ball rolling. Even though I believe for anxiety, if you've got like deep anxiety, normally that's just talking about it alone isn't going to get to the root, but it is a good start. Because a lot of people don't have someone's. The great thing with psychologists and therapists is, or anyone like myself, is that we're safe people to talk to. Most people don't feel safe. If someone's got an issue, they don't want to talk about it. That makes them feel like they're a failure. They think there's something wrong with them. They think that's admitting there's something wrong with them if they go. So finding someone safe to talk to, and then you start talking about it and realizing, oh, it's not a massive thing, but we can do things to work on it. It helps lower the anxiety when you speak to someone safely, where you don't feel like judged or like there's something massively wrong with you. So that's probably the first thing to do.
Yeah. And I think as well, actually just saying it out loud sometimes can actually help. Like, as you said, like even just saying it out loud, like if you have a problem that's in your head and it's kind of eating up your brain, if you kind of just talk for 5 minutes about what it is, it almost gives you a bit of like clarity. It's like, oh, I've got that out of my chest now.
It does. It does.
I mean, I think it's better to talk to someone, but I do know people that have actually just, like in the shower, have literally been talking about, all their issues to themselves out loud. But that's actually had a difference.
Definitely. Like every day, most days I've got a journal. So I'll wake up and just journal my thoughts. And the whole point of that is exactly that. It's getting that out of you. Because one of the problems is, and it doesn't matter if it's in sports or in life, is that we have all these ruminating thoughts that they stagnate. They're just literally, it's like a broken record. It just goes around and around, and it sends us nuts. It sends us, like, we need to get them out, even if it's on paper, whether it's to a friend or a psychologist. Getting them out alone can solve 80% of that issue. So, or talking out loud, like getting it out of your mind makes you a little bit lighter. And it's a bit of relief.
Yeah, exactly. And then I guess now, like relating more to sport and athletic performance, obviously like mindset is extremely important, especially at that top level. So what are some, I guess, techniques? Like I know you just said like writing stuff down, like journaling's really, I guess, one already, but what are some other techniques that maybe athletes can use to help their mindset on the court or on the field?
So many, but journaling's great. So journaling's great before a game. So the day of, let's say you got a tennis game at whatever, 12 o'clock on a Saturday, you get up at 8. One of the first things that I would suggest to do is grab a journal and write on there, journal or tennis journal or whatever you want to call it. Put the date on there and literally just write out everything that's going on in your mind about the game, about life, about everything. And just, it's called a brain dump. And you just dump out and you don't think, you don't sit there and think what you're writing. You just write. You just write. No one's, just think of it like this book is someone listening to you, and they're just going to listen. They're not going to interrupt you. They're not judging you. So you just write all your thoughts, no matter how silly they sound. And you just keep writing until you got nothing left. And that might be 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes. And what you'll notice is, like you said before, just the fact of getting out all your concerns, worries, issues in life, it lowers the impact it's having on you immediately. Even if it's just a little bit, it lowers it, which helps you have more clarity, which helps you go into a game with more, awareness and calmness and presence and groundedness, because they're the stuff you need going into games. Because if you're hyped up and you're trying to fight all your fears and all that, it can get to the better of you, So you want to, going into a game, I've realized growing up, we used to get taught to fire up and all that, especially in Aussie rules football. Yeah. But it's better to be grounded. It's better because then you know what you're doing. You know the plan that your coach has given you. You know what you need to do. You have more fun because you're in the zone. And journaling really helps you with that. Another thing is breathing. So journaling and then some breath work is amazing straight after journaling, which is when we are ruminating or when we're worrying or when we have fears or when we're struggling, our breath, if you notice your breath, you're probably not breathing properly. And what that means is, I shouldn't say properly because there's no such thing, but you're breathing in a way that's helping you overthink more. And you're breathing in a way that's making you worry more. So when you're worrying or you have fears or you're stressed, your breathing is shallow. And it's doing it automatically. So you'll have short out breaths, and you'll have longer inhales, and that's what happens. It's like a small hyperventilation, and what that does is it tells your body that you're in danger, and then it's going to tell your mind to look for danger. So if your body's breathing in a way that it's saying there's danger, your mind is going to look for danger. And what does your mind do? Your mind starts thinking, oh my God, I'm going to lose this game. Oh my God, I'm not good enough. Oh my God, what are my parents going to think or my coach going to think if I don't win? And then you go on a bit of a cycle, and people don't even realize it's happening. So one of the things to break that is to realize that's going on and to start to breathe in a way to calm down your body and your mind. So one of the ways, and I've taught some of the kids already, which is 2 and 4 breathing, which means you breathe in through your nostrils or your mouth for 2 seconds, and then a 4-second out breath. 2 seconds in, 4 seconds out. And if you can just do that, like if you're watching this, when you're watching this, just try it, pause this and do it for a minute, and just notice how you feel before you do it and how you feel after. It might be a slight change or it might be a massive change, but you should notice that your mind starts to calm down because you're calming your body down. If your body calms down, your mind will calm down. If your mind calms down, then your body calms down. It's a cycle.
Yeah. I've actually tried some myself, and especially when I've had some like stomach inflammation or, stomach's feeling a bit sore before something, just do some breathing for a minute or two, and then it just kind of calms everything down a bit more, as you said. And if you're watching, like I was watching the Olympics this year, and how many of the athletes now are breathing? Like maybe I'm just noticing it, or maybe it's becoming more common. But yeah, the amount of athletes now that are doing breathing exercises before they do their jump or do their throw, it's quite crazy. And I saw an Australian high jumper. I don't know if you remember her. She was doing journaling after every single jump.
Yeah, no, I
so
didn't know
if
that.
she
Yeah.
Okay, so she got a silver medal, and she every time she cleared it, she would go to a seat, and then she would write down,
Yeah.
you know, blah blah blah, and then if she missed, she would still write it down,
Yeah.
and then she always able to correct it on the next one.
Yeah.
So quite often she was missing that first jump, and then on the second or third attempt, she would nail it, and she was so in the zone, so pumped.
Yeah. It's if you look at
so
all the top athletes now, the Conor McGregors and even in AFL, it's happening now. In Australia, there's mindset coaches, there's psychologists, there's sports psychologists. The top athletes, they're starting to realize that they've neglected one of the most important things for performance, which is your mind. Like, who would have thought, right? Like, it's not a thing you can just physically train. It's mentally training is now the top thing that, a lot of the fighters these days in UFC and all that have mindset coaches and performance coaches for the mind. Because if like the amount of people I knew growing up, sorry, one sec. The amount of people I knew growing up in Australian rules football that I was personally better than physically. And now there's a couple of people in particular that play high level AFL, so Australian rules football. And one of them in particular is one of the best. He wasn't that good. Like, he wasn't that amazing when I was playing. Like, but the thing that he was amazing at was he had a rock solid mindset. He was a calm guy. He didn't get too up. He didn't get too down. He was quite present, and he was quite grounded. And he just kept at it, and he was getting better. And he started getting amazing. He played AFL, and now he's known as one of the best. And no, he didn't have a mindset coach, but I know his mindset was a lot more rock solid than someone like me, who might have been great, I had talent, but I couldn't handle the mindset of things. So it's very, very important to understand talent is one thing, but having the right attitude and having the right mental state going into things and keeping yourself grounded and calm and all this kind of stuff is the other half of the battle, if not more.
Yep. Yeah. I guess, so there's a lot to unpack there because, like we were talking about the other night about, enjoying the process and enjoying playing on court and then, not being scared of losing. I guess a lot of it is, impacting your performance. Like I know for me, as a junior, I lost a lot, before I was 12 because I started a bit later and my parents were just kind of like, oh, he's having fun. They didn't really push me, which was good. So I had a lot of losing. But then so I was really good at dealing with losses. Like I could lose and then I would be like, oh, just speak to my mates again and everything was fine.
Beautiful.
I look at other kids and they're kind of at the back of a field about, 200 meters away, not talking to anyone for 2 hours. And, so everyone's different. But I found that I was almost too extreme, that I accepted losing almost too much. Like I was more interested in, oh, I'm playing someone better than me. Oh, I got a set off them, or I lost 6-4. That's actually really good. But I actually didn't get to the next stage of like, oh, I can actually win. This is a bit of a selfish question. How do you mix it all together? Like, not having the fear of losing, enjoying it, but then still being competitive. Like, is there an answer to have everything?
Well, I think like it depends. It depends the outcome you want, right? So for you, it just sounds like you had a lot of fun, which is great. Like it didn't sound like you were that competitive. You just had a lot of fun, which is amazing for having fun. Like, and you enjoy it.
I was definitely competitive. Like I was at nationals and everything like that, and international tournaments. But I was always that guy who would lose in the final, or I would be third in my region Canterbury team, or I was definitely at the top, but I wasn't like that.
You didn't get to the number one. You were top 3 or 4 and just couldn't crack that. That's quite common. If we could unpack that because that could be a few things, but just guessing if it's like me, because that was similar to me, always top 3 or 4, never number one. I'd get close to. For me personally, it sounds like you knew you were good, but you didn't believe maybe you were the best, or sometimes if you're a shy kid like me, like I was very shy, being number one meant everyone was going to judge you. So it could be a lot of things.
Mm.
Could be that. If you were a shy kid, were you shy?
Yeah. No, but I think as well that I got into my head that probably all the other kids had parents that were coaches or
Yeah.
were really,
Yeah.
really invested. And I always
Yeah.
thought that I was like that kid who did really well to get to that level because, I had to kind of create my own path and I did things for myself. And, when my parents split up, I had to pay for some of my tournaments. And, so I was that guy. I was like, oh, this is awesome that I'm here. And my mum was always like, oh, you've done so well. But I was like, yeah, but I could have,
It was almost like you're happy
yes,
just to get to that spot. Not, you're
yeah,
happy enough to you were
yeah, I
happy enough
accepted
to
it.
where
Yeah,
you accepted where you were. You accepted where you were,
yeah,
which
that was
is,
it. Yeah.
yeah, I just think you accepted and you weren't. So, it's a fine balance. It is a fine balance because, to
Mm,
get to that number one, level, you do have to be extremely competitive and you got to reflect on what you can improve on. You got to, all these things that can, if you're not careful, can lead you astray and lead you to not enjoy it and lead to beating yourself up a lot. There is a fine balance. I think you're right.
yeah.
Yeah.
You've got to be grateful as well because if I took it really, really far and chose to be more competitive, I actually think I would have got burnt out.
That's right.
And both with my body. I mean, my body burnt out anyway, and as well with just my mind. I think I really would have probably hated tennis and then done something
Exactly.
else. So now it's actually worked out that I have a lot more to give out. I can look back at my own career and tell kids what I did wrong and what I
That's
did
right.
right.
Yeah.
And that turned into a job. So similar to you. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just being on that journey.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, for us, we weren't probably destined to make it to the top because we're probably, let's face it, a lot of the athletes that are in tennis probably aren't going to be amazing coaches. A lot of amazing players in sports aren't amazing coaches. They're
Yeah,
amazing
exactly.
at what they do. But someone like us, we're amazing. We're probably a lot better at reflecting on what we could have done better and we can pass that on, which will make those kids even better. So,
Yeah, exactly. All right, we'll get to the last kind of quick fire questions to finish off. So, number one was what's your like best advice for a junior athlete, like upcoming in sport?
um, as a junior upcoming is at this point you got to have fun still. Like if you take it too serious and you're not going to enjoy it long term. And if you want to take it long term and do well, what I've found is you have to enjoy it still. And I'm talking to the kids that are hard on themselves. Right now, if you're having a lot of fun, that's great. And if you want to get a little bit better, maybe be a little bit more competitive. Find that balance. If you're having a lot of fun but you're not competitive, find a bit of competitive. If you're too competitive and you hate losing and you beat yourself up, just tone it back a bit. Remember why you started. You started because it's fun. All right. So find a balance.
Yeah, I really like that. What's your go-to like mindset exercise?
It's breathing for me. Pretty
Yeah,
much all the time, whether it's in life or sport, because I still play sport too. So it's breathing. It's just if I see my mind starts drifting off, bring it back and get into my body.
awesome. And that's something anyone can do.
Yeah.
Just quickly as well, which is cool.
Yeah.
What's something people don't know about you?
Probably that I'm actually very introverted. Like I'm extroverted, like doing stuff like this because this is my passion. But in social, I'm quite introverted. I'm an introverted extroverted. Like I can be loud, but I'm actually deep down. I'm actually a shy kid still.
Right. Yeah, I'm hugely introverted. Like I don't socialize at all, really. But
I'm the
as you
same.
said, like and tennis though, if I've got 50 kids, I can easily talk about tennis for an hour and do a speech and not really be nervous. But then if you told me to go to I don't know, a meeting or an arrangement where I didn't know anyone, like nah, I'm good. I'm good.
Yeah, I'm the same. I'm the same.
Yeah. Number 4, what are you most grateful for?
Probably all the hard times that I went through with anxiety because it's actually given me what I do now, which I love. So it's funny, you look back and go, wow, all those times that I thought were terrible were actually gifts. Just took time for me to realize that.
Yeah,
That's
that happens a lot, doesn't it? Like people that you look back and you go, oh wow, that really shaped who I am today.
it
So
shapes you. Yeah.
yeah, awesome. And then lastly, what does success mean for you?
For me, it's living your values. So what I mean by values is, what do you love in life, and are you living that? Or are you living, if you're living accordingly to what you believe in, that's success. And if you're not, you could have a lot of money, you could be amazing at sports and all this, but if you're not doing it because you love it, I don't call that successful. I call that you're trying to make someone else happy and not yourself. So
Hmm.
doing what you actually enjoy, no matter what that looks like.
Awesome. Thank you so much for chatting, and
It's all right.
hopefully, yeah, all the kids and parents and everyone at home will, yeah, get some more insight about you. I think it was really cool for everyone to get to know you a
Yeah,
bit better
no.
as well,
Yeah,
since you're
yeah.
doing weekly content.
Yeah, that's true.
But there's
That's true.
also, yeah, but there's also some obviously different stuff we've talked about as well, which is going to be really, really cool for people to implement in their life and in
Yeah.
the sport.
Yeah,
So thank
beautiful.
you.
Yeah, thank you. It's been good.